Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is amazing. You have never seen a movie that looks this good, point blank, period. This movie has the largest crew that an animated production has ever had. A team of 1,000 very talented people. And spectacle aside, the film is a great exploration of acceptance and adversity, using those themes to talk about how the real world has responded to the mere idea of Miles Morales, a black Spider-Man. Don't believe me? Peep this clip from an interview Johnny did with the directors.
Was there any degree of that story that was meant to be a sort of commentary on the fans who don't see Miles as a real Spider-Man?
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
If you haven't seen it yet, I don't know why you clicked on this video, but go see it. I can't praise it enough, and it is deserving of all the praise it's been getting. That being said, there's a critique or nitpick with this film that I've already been seeing pop up online that at first may make you go, yeah, wait, that doesn't make sense. But then when remember the actual movie, you realize, wait, no, that take doesn't make sense. And because I can see this take staying around in the general conversation, and I'm currently up at 1:46 in the morning still thinking about this movie, let's have a chat. Obviously, spoilers ahead for the entirety of Across the Spider-Verse, you've been warned. Okay, actually, let me chill out a bit. Since I wrote this video on Thursday night, this has become a legitimate grievance with a good amount of people who have seen the film, but I have seen a lot of thoughtful takes that have definitely given me way more perspective than the few tweets or comments I saw that inspired me to write this video in the first place. While I do think a lot of the discourse around this plot point is silly, and while I am being hyperbolic, I want to make it clear that I don't think you're stupid or looking for something to complain about just because you didn't vibe with this plot point. I think making the Spider Society, as I've seen a lot of people put it, time cops, is going to be a tough sell for some people, as the mere concept can conflict with what they're looking for in a Spider-Man story. And a lot of people who have expressed their grievances with this story beat still enjoy the film. So I do think it's important to not be so protective of the movie that any and all criticism is drowned out. Same thing with people's issues with Ben Reilly and his portrayal in this film. I don't really know much about his character, so I was fine with him being this film's equivalent to Spidey Noir, but I get if that felt insulting to any fans of his. This video may be explaining why this plot point worked for me, but if you had your issues with it, I get it, I hear ya. But first! A lot of the discourse around this plot point is I am being hyperbolic. This video is brought to you by Honkai Star Rail, a space fantasy RPG created by Hoyoverse, the makers of Genshin Impact, a free-to-play cross-platform RPG that's available now on both mobile and PC. With a PlayStation release coming soon, you can play anytime, anywhere. Honkai Star Rail is a galactic space odyssey adventure. As a trailblazer, you can delve into rich in-game lore and captivating side stories, while experiencing the wonder of a meticulously crafted sci-fi universe. The reimagined tactical combat lends to endless team-building possibilities with diverse enemies, environments, characters, and upgrades for a truly personalized strategy. Not to mention, there's over 20 playable characters, with options for English, Korean, Japanese, and Chinese voiceover. Enjoy rich interactive experiences in a semi-open world where you can discover treasure chests, solve puzzles, and uncover the stories of its inhabitants, unraveling the world's secrets away at every turn. New to Honkai Star Rail is the limited 5-star character, Silverwolf. She's one of the best characters in the universe, and also a member of the mysterious organization, Stalaron Hunters. Silverwolf is a genius hacker with a rebellious spirit and a hardcore gamer. She scoffs at authority and rules, with few things in the universe able to rouse her interest. Few people can best her in the craft of hacking. Her hacking ability is powerful enough to reach beyond games and affect the real world we live in. In combat, Silverwolf fights using her hacking abilities. She's able to add weaknesses to her enemies while being a powerful support capable of decent damage output. There's also Lucia, who's constantly calm and collected, and forever unfathomable. Lucia is a healer in battle. Aside from being able to heal for large amounts, his ultimate can cause AoE damage and dispel enemy buffs. Download Honkai Star Rail using the link in the description and experience these new characters. And use this redemption code for an extra 50 Stellar Jade. Basically, the beef I've seen with this movie has to do with the conflict between Miles and the League of Spidey people. Is it a league? A council? A cult? Let me know in the comments. So you know how Miles ended up saving Pavitcher's girlfriend's dad? And that was a really bad thing to do, actually. Because according to Miguel the Redditor, Miles disrupted a canon event, and the dad was supposed to die because he has the title of captain. And breaking canon can have catastrophic results, as Miguel tried to replace a dead version of himself, Rick and Morty style, and caused a whole universe to get wiped out. And all the spider people are destined to lose someone close to them that has the title of captain, which causes Miles to put 2 and 2 together that his dad is about to be sworn in as captain, which means Jeff is knocking on death's door. Long story short, the spider people explain that Miles isn't meant to prevent the death of his father, and Miguel plans to hold him in their headquarters until his dad kicks the bucket. And this is where the problem arises, as obviously Miles resists and ends up escaping, getting jumped by the whole Spider Squad. And keep in mind, this is practically every version of Spider-Man who's ever existed, aside from the live-action boys. We got Spectacular, we got Unlimited, we even got the damn Popsicle. And let's not kid ourselves. A big reason why these cameos are so cool is that they allow us to briefly catch up with versions of the character that were taken from us way too soon, like Spectacular. So obviously people are going to have the expectation that these characters, well, feel in character. And I don't think it's crazy to say that actively going out of your way to ensure a kid's dad dies because it's kind of like something you went through doesn't feel very Spider-Man. So what the heck? Why are all of these spider people down with murder? Are you saying none of them would have any problems with this? I mean, that seems like a valid critique, right? Because if it does, then watch the movie again. First off, it's not like the sole purpose of this league is to make sure terrible things happen to spider people all over the multiverse. The movie clearly establishes early on that all the multiverse fuckery between the events of Into the Spider-Verse and No Way Home has left the Spider-Verse in kind of a rough place. And now villains are falling into different dimensions left and right. The main job of all these spider people is to simply catch these villains and send them back home. Canon events seem like something members were informed on, so they don't interfere with any of the lives they encounter when traveling all over space-time, which I think is fair. But it didn't seem like it was anything they were actively looking out for until Miles got involved. And keep in mind, Miguel didn't even want him involved in the first place. He didn't even want Gwen involved, but caved. Don't get me wrong, it's Team Fuck Miguel right now, but bro was trying to avoid any of this from happening in the first place. He's going about it totally the wrong way, but considering he caused everyone in a universe to die, or so he believes, I think there could be a twist with that. I get why he has to stick up his ass and wants to adhere to fate. Like, none of us can really even fathom the weight of what he allegedly caused to happen.
You say the fate of the multiverse, and my brain dies.
But I think we can all see why he ended up the way he did. Why he basically wants to conform to a Spidey algorithm. Because he did fuck around and find out. And as far as he's concerned, intervening with canon can lead to way more catastrophic results than whatever was meant to happen in the first place. Of course, we as the audience know canon is bullshit, because Miles already broke the canon of multiple continuities through the first film, saving all the homies who came to his timeline in the first place, and permanently altering the course of their lives. But of course, the Spider Society hasn't put all that together yet. It's almost as if this is a two-parter, weird. And I think people are kinda dismissive about how much authority Miguel has in this situation. He has the multiverse tech, and he has a tragic experience with the multiverse. He recruited this roster himself, so I do think you can rationalize that he picked people that he knew would listen to him with little pushback. Again, it's not like his argument isn't compelling. He thinks reality itself is at stake if a canon event is disrupted. He's also bitter and desensitized. He's a dick to just about everyone around him. And because he survived such an extremely traumatic event, he thinks he knows what's best for everyone else. And as a result, we see him manipulating and pressuring the Spidey Society into following his corrupted moral code. I mean, this guy almost ate the Vulture. Clearly, he's a little out of touch with what Spider-Man stands for. But up until this point with Miles, I don't think anything too fucked up has happened that would cause other Spidey people to push back against him. This society hasn't been active for more than a year. given that's how long it's been since the first film. It's only now that the cracks are beginning to show, and that it's obvious Miguel shouldn't be in charge of this whole thing, or that this thing should even exist at all. Because although it keeps the Spider People connected, they're only being brought together to prevent their world from deviating from the status quo. They're crushing creative storytelling opportunities in favor of playing it safe. So basically, Spider-Punk did nothing wrong. So it is easy to look at this and feel like things are a little off. But keep in mind, pretty much all of these Spider People have seen the consequences of tempting fate. Hell, Gwen acknowledges in the beginning of the film that if her and Miles tempt fate by getting together, there is a great chance she'll die. So I think it's less of them blindly being on board with this, and more so all of them being conflicted, but going along with Miguel's plan for the time being, because again, he's the one that caused an entire universe to go kaput, allegedly. It is worth keeping in mind that a lot of these Spider People have already gone through their canon events. Like again, with Spectacular, clearly it's been some time since we've seen him. He may have already lost his Gwen for all we know. I think it makes sense that a lot of them would have this perspective, because through their own life experience, they know that although these losses hurt, something can emerge from the aftermath. Like how Peter B said, a lot of them wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the death of Uncle Ben. And I won't lie, there's a very personal reason why I do think the situation isn't just black and white. I lost my girlfriend last year, and I often think, what could I have done to change the outcome? To have the foresight to prevent that sudden loss. But over a year later, my life has changed substantially as a result. I moved to a different state, and I'm surrounded by a different community with a different support system. My life is completely different from how it was a year ago. So of course those thoughts emerged while watching this movie. And while I know if I had the choice I would save her in a heartbeat, I do acknowledge that that would erase everything positive that's happened since her death. And I think that's why I find this plot point so compelling, and why I think this conversation is a little more nuanced than how people are spinning it. Because although we know Miguel is wrong and the Spider Society should not be moving like this, I get why they feel compelled to do so. Yeah, it's the trolley problem. Yeah, Spider-Man doesn't do the trolley problem. And when's the last time that message has been portrayed in a Spider-Man film? Because there's no way they're not gonna come to that epiphany in the next one. So although we're all rooting for Miles, I don't think there's any denying that this is a morally compelling situation for all of them. Hell, during this whole intervention turn chase debacle, I was under the impression that most of these Spider People were more so worried about Miles doing the thing all Spider-Men are known to do in a moment of weakness, and flip his shit, especially when they're aware that he's an anomaly, thanks to his alternate dimension spider bite. These aren't just people who shoot webs and have cool powers. They're nerds. They're worried about shit like quantum physics, and they're all aware that your molecules destabilize in another universe. So all things considered, I think being prepared and willing to restrain a fellow Spider-Man when you're breaking some of the worst news possible to him is reasonable. But my own rationalizations and copium aside, it is true that not every Spider-Man would be fully on board with this plan, because they aren't in the movie. Peter B. Parker and Gwen are never trying to restrain Miles. They're just trying to talk things out. Spider-Punk quits! Noir and Spider-Pig weren't at the quote-unquote intervention. And most importantly, when Miguel sends Gwen home, we have that big moment from the trailer where she says, "We are supposed to be the good guys." But unlike the trailer, after Gwen is sent home, not only does Miguel reaffirm to himself that they're the good guys, but he tries to reaffirm this to the entire crew. Because I think it's fairly obvious that the cracks in this plan have started to show to everyone, Miguel included. We have to remember that this movie is a part one, and that the entire purpose of this conflict is to illustrate how messed up it is that people have to die just to adhere to canon. And this conflict has now introduced some clear tension between Miguel, Jessica, and the rest of the Spider Society. And I'm confident part 2 will show more and more division among the Spider People, as they all gradually realize that hitting the same plot beats over and over isn't what makes them Spider-Men or Spider-Woman, that their morals do mean something. that sometimes you don't think with your head, but with your gut, leading to a big moment where a bulk of the league turns against Miguel. Now, before I bow out, I do think there's another layer here that everyone is aware of, but not everyone wants to really acknowledge, because it does ruin some of the magic of seeing iterations like Spectacular again. And that's the fact that although this league is comprised of many recognizable Spider people from throughout the decades, a good 90% of them are written as one big meta commentary on Spider-Man and the expectations of who Spider-Man is and what Spider-Man endures. But I think looking at it like that makes these characters feel like they have a little less autonomy than we want them to. But like, they're cameos, my nigga. I don't know what to tell you. It's better than if they were just random Spider people designed exclusively for the movie. And you may feel differently, but I guarantee you if that was the case, you would have gone, "Well, I wish it was spectacular and unlimited and blah 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 blah." I think for the amount of screen time a lot of these cameos got, like Spectacular, they knocked it out of the park. We learned just enough about what's happened to him since his show wrapped up, and he has a small exchange with Miles. That's all I wanted out of him, and that's what I got. One more thing I wanted to add in. I already talked about this on Twitter. Please go follow me and enable my Spider-Man hyperfixation, but I want it shared in this video too. There's some vital storytelling within one of the main posters marketing the film, with Miles in front of all the Spider people. Everyone prominent on the left, like Miguel, Jessica, and Ben, are those who oppose Miles and his goals, while everyone prominent on the right are those who defect from the Spider Society at the end of the film. So you could even use this to theorize who will defect from him in the next film. Because what's really interesting about this is that in the expanded version of this poster, Spectacular Spider-Man is on the right side. So if this could serve as foreshadowing for the next film, then yeah, odds are Beyond the Spider-Verse will have a moment where a lot of the Spider-Man people think wouldn't be on board with the plan will rebel. And there could even be that satisfying, paying homage to the character moment where someone like Spectacular stands up to Miguel and decides to help out Miles. I like Spectacular Spider-Man, if you couldn't tell. I don't really think it's out of place for him or any other Spider-Man to be in on this pen with Miguel because they all started out just wanting to talk. And again, the movie is making it clear that there's some reluctancy here. Things escalated for sure, but none of it was done in a way to make me question the authenticity of these characters. Especially because, again, cameo. The movie is not about them. And I highly doubt this movie will be referenced in any other Spider-Man property, aside from the MCU, but, you know, brand synergy, both Sony and Disney love money, and if that's not enough for you, it's a good thing we still have wherever they came from. Those beautiful 26 episodes of Spectacular ain't going nowhere, King. Alright, that's about it. Peace.